I forget who said it, but inside every joke's a tiny revolution. That's how I've always viewed comedy. Jim Gaffigan, also, who was the host of the Al Smith dinner, or MC or whatever, I don't know what the title is. Jim Gaffigan is not a Trump fan. In fact, I've seen him in the past very harsh of Donald Trump, to the point where, seems to be very much anti-Trump. Not just like, hey, I'm not voting for this guy, but like he doesn't like him at all. He sort of eviscerated Kamala Harris. And one thing about me is I think comedy's like a great equalizer. I could absolutely despise someone's politics and despise their character. But if they're funny, I'm like, well, they're funny. And certainly there are a lot of comedians who would absolutely despise my political beliefs. But I'm like, yeah, they're funny. Now, I think comedy, particularly types of comedy I like, thanks so much, Shannon Sharp. So much of comedy nowadays has lost, particularly stand-up, has lost the central point, which is to be funny. Yes, comedy's always been subversive. Comedy's always had a message. The best comedy is almost always comedy that has grains of truth in it, and that it's talking about things that it's difficult to talk about. I forget who said it, but inside every joke's a tiny revolution. That's how I've always viewed comedy, And it's interesting to hear comedy that's still doing that. But I always appreciated that about comedy. Jim Gaffigan, someone I always thought to be quite funny. I thought Jim Gaffigan, as a stand-up, when I'd heard him in the past, did something that I really appreciate, which is he's able to be funny without being incredibly vulgar. And that's difficult. It's very difficult, particularly in stand-up, to go out there and be legitimately funny in a way that's not like cursing and swearing or telling, because it's easier to be funny when you're talking about things that are more off, taboo, sort of to say. So to be able to do those sorts of things, I think it's very interesting. So anyways, I know he wasn't a big Trump fan. And so to hear him at the Al Smith dinner was really amazing. So we're gonna play some of these clips. Jim Gaffigan, I think, in his jokes, tells one that, to me, that I think is the most powerful joke of the night, because it's true. And it's something that when it comes through in the form of a joke, to me, it has a clarity and a simplicity, but a truth to it that's better than I could do sitting here talking to you for an hour.
Democrats have been telling us Trump's re-election is a threat to democracy. In fact, they were so concerned of this threat, they staged a coup, ousted their democratically elected incumbent, and installed Kamala Harris. In other words, all her dreams have come true. Really? It really makes you consider the power of prayer, right, Cardinal? Sometimes prayers take 3.5 years and a George Clooney op-ed. Yeah.
That's brutal. That's such a good joke. That's absolutely right. The central attack of the Democratic Party that Trump is a threat to democracy, I can't think of a more anti-democratic way that an election's occurred than what the Democrats did in their primary. Now, I've talked about this before, but let me be clear at what I'm saying. I'm not saying that there's not a time and a place where you realize that there are health problems for the person who won your primary and you have to replace them. Of course that could happen. For example, let's say Donald Trump would have been hit by that bullet and basically been in a comatose state. At that point, you might say, look, we're going to replace him on the ticket with J.D. Vance, or someone's in a car wreck, or someone has a stroke. Things like that occur. Of course, you understand there has to be room for an unforeseen circumstance occurred, be it medical, injury, etc. And so now you have to replace the ticket, and maybe there's not time to have a full-fledged primary so that the voters of that particular party would be able to choose. Of course, that can happen. That is not what happened. And the Democrats, when you bring up the basic coup that they had against Joe Biden. That's what they'll say. Oh, well, if he's not mentally fit and they realize it, what, you think they should be forced to stick with him? No, that's not what I'm saying. What makes this particularly egregious is they all knew. That's what makes it egregious. That the entire Democrat establishment knew that Joe Biden wasn't qualified to be the candidate. They all knew it. They knew it for years. The op-ed that he's talking about there for George Clooney was George Clooney writing an op-ed that was like, look, I had a fundraiser with Biden, and we were all like, what is this guy doing? But they were silent. There were other op-eds where people were writing way back in fundraisers in 2021. People were like, wow, something's going on with Biden. They all knew it. But they lied. And again, why this should anger you? Like, for those that are like me, I'm not Democrat. I wasn't going to vote in the Democrat primary. Particularly in a state like mine that's a closed primary, I'm registered Republican, so I can't vote in the Democrat primary. It's not that they lied to me. They did. And as an American, that should infuriate you because they lied and continue to this day to lie about the cognitive health of the President of the United States, which is particularly egregious in a situation where we're on the cusp of major wars, we have a border crisis, we have an inflationary crisis, and we have no idea who's helming the ship. But you should be incensed 10 times that if you're a Democrat. Because they lied to you. And you have to understand, when a president decides to run again, he or she, let's be honest, because it's only ever been men, are almost guaranteed to win their primary. And so, in effect, by the Democratic apparatus and the media, the DNC, the Biden administration, etc., by them lying to the Democrat voters about Joe Biden's mental health, they all but assured that there was basically no primary, that Joe Biden would be the default primary winner. Then they schedule a debate early enough that if Joe Biden falls flat in his face, like they knew was probably likely, they would all turn on him and then force him out, thereby ensuring that they got to install the candidate of their choice without one Democratic voter having a say in it. And that's exactly what's happened. Now, I think humor is very important. Now, let's be clear here. I don't think Trump wrote all of his own jokes, obviously. This is just a select that Viva Frey put up 5 minutes. But the reason Kamala Harris didn't show up to this is because she's not sociable. And she couldn't even pull off reading other people's jokes in a sociable way. Trump's timing is impeccable. He is truly a showman. He is, and it comes across. And to be able to joke, like, even in the most dire of situations, even in the most dire of political environments, you got to have a sense of humor. You'll just go crazy. And it really humanizes Trump. I think that the people that all they hear nonstop is in their little bubble that Trump's literally Hitler, it really does mean that they don't know how to process when they see Chuck Schumer putting his hand on Trump's back. Hey, what's up, buddy? When they see Trump up there joking around and stuff. And to me, I think that even though you would say in an ideal situation, people aren't voting based on these sort of personal things and characteristics, the truth is that's how people are. Character matters. If character didn't matter, if the characters didn't matter, Trump would win in a landslide. If the election was just about the record of Joe Biden versus the record of Donald Trump, overwhelmingly people say I was better off under Trump. The problem is that people say that the foibles and character flaws of Trump are reason to not prefer him, even if the situation was better under him. Or that they're fearful because of those character flaws that he'll do heinous things when he's elected again. So these sorts of things, being funny and making these jokes, are great. The other thing is, it's objectively funny what he's saying. It really is. And to see so many people on the left, including Kamala Harris's team, they were like, these were offensive and blah, blah, blah. They don't have a sense of humor. They don't. They just don't have a sense of humor. And I think people are getting tired of it. Like, again, I started off the show talking about Jim Gaffigan, someone, as far as I know, still not a Trump fan. And yet he's able to lampoon Kamala Harris. Particularly because she wasn't there. Harris didn't show up because she thinks that being associated with Catholics could harm her with the LGBT people in some way, I would guess. That's just speculation on my part. And the other thing is because she would not do well in this environment. She wouldn't. So she found an excuse not to be there, and she had Mary Catherine Gallagher, that terrible character that I never found funny from SNL, played by Molly Shannon, do a little clip, and it was horribly unfunny. Look, if you're a lefty and you hate Trump, and you think he's Hitler, I could understand why this would upset you. Because if you're honest with yourself, you know that this is funny. And you know that interactions like this help Trump. So let's listen to some of it.
They went after you. They went after you, Mayor. Yeah, boy, I knew that. 9.5 months ago, I said, he just said something about it, about the administration. He's going to be indicted any moment. And guess what happened?
Let's talk about Mayor Adams.
I think you're going to win. I know you're going to win. So good luck. It's a true pleasure to be with you this evening. Amazing pleasure. And these days, it's really a pleasure anywhere in New York without a subpoena for my appearance. Anytime I don't get a subpoena, I'm very happy. They've gone after me, Mr. Mayor. You're peanuts compared to what they've done to me. And you're going to be okay. My opponent feels like she does not have to be here, which is deeply disrespectful.
I know the volume's low. This is just the quality of the video I could get. So sorry about that. You have to listen closely.
To the event, and in particular to our great Catholic community. Very disrespectful. The last Democrat not to attend this important event was Walter Mondale, and it did not go very well for him. He lost 49 states and he won one, Minnesota. Catholic Church, you're helping the poor, educating children, and supporting the vulnerable. But if you really wanted Vice President Harris to accept your invitation, I guess you should have told her the funds were going to bail out the looters and rioters in Minneapolis, and she would have been here, guaranteed she would have been here. Guaranteed. She would have been okay. She would have been okay with that. All polls are indicating I'm leading big with the Catholic vote, as I should be, But I don't think Kamala has given up yet. She hasn't. Instead of attending tonight, she's in Michigan receiving communion from Gretchen Whitmer.
Dark horse for one of the best. Look at Jim Gaffigan laughing there. If you didn't hear what he said, Kamala couldn't be here today, but don't worry, she's in Michigan taking, it sucks for Catholics, but she's in Michigan taking communion from Gretchen Whitmer. Remember Gretchen Whitmer had that terrible video that was supposed to be like erotic where she's feeding that streamer a Dorito chip that's basically making fun of communion. And so at a Catholic event to say that, I think is very funny. By the way, can people hear it enough that they could hear what he's saying? I can, so I hope you can hear it. But sorry that the quality of this sucks. But look at even Jim Gaffigan laughing there, because they know that was horribly offensive to Catholics, and it's a good joke. It really is.
That's not a pretty sight. But the truth is, I've debated twice this year, once against Joe Biden and once against David Muir of ABC. But look on the bright side, Chuck, considering how woke your party has become. If Kamala loses, you still have a chance to become the first woman president.
That's a great joke. He said, look at Chuck. That's an uncomfortable one to laugh at, but they know it's true. They know. It's hilarious.
There's a group called White Dudes for Harris. Have you seen this? White Dudes for Harris. Anybody know? Are some of you here? White Dudes for Harris? Doesn't sound like it. But I'm not worried about them at all because their wives and their wives' lovers are all voting for me.
Look, again, even Gaffigan laughs at that. It's funny. It's a funny joke. It really is. And then one of the dudes from White Dudes from Harris came out today and was like, we'll see who's laughing because our wives and their lovers will be voting for Kamala. It's like, okay, good comeback. But that's it. That's probably the best joke. Like, it's good stuff.
Every one of those people is voting for me. Tradition holds that I'm supposed to tell a few self-deprecating jokes this evening. So here it goes. Nope, I've got nothing. There's nothing to say. I guess I just don't see the point of taking shots at myself when other people have been shooting at me for a hell of a long time and they shoot hard.
I mean, that's a funny joke, too. The man just had one assassinated bullet graze him in the ear and another assassination attempt. That's a pretty funny joke. Why take shots at myself when other people are doing it? Pretty funny.
But unfortunately, Governor Walz isn't here himself, but don't worry, he'll say that he was. He's going to say he was.
That's a great joke, too. Walz, who's always lying about all this stuff he did. Walz isn't here, but don't worry, he'll say that he was. Good.
I used to think the Democrats were crazy for saying that men have periods, but then I met Tim Walz.
That's really funny. Good stuff. It's good.
Having recently myself survived 2 assassination attempts, I survived. I have a chart that went down to the right. Fortunately, I looked at it's my all-time favorite piece of paper. But it went down, and I looked to the right, and I said, was that luck? What was that, luck, or was that God that did that? And I think it was God that did that. I do. But I have a very fresh, Cardinal, I have a very fresh appreciation for how blessed we are by God's providence and his divine mercy. I mean, that was something, I was not supposed to be here tonight. That I can tell you. So with God's help, I know there is nothing that cannot be achieved. We can achieve so much good with this country and get together and unify. But I just want to thank everybody. This is a special evening. It's a very serious evening, I think. We have some serious problems in the world, but they're going to get solved, and we're going to make America great again. And thank you very much, and God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'll go a little longer. I think what you're seeing is even people like celebrities and stuff, it's more comfortable to come out and say, I'm supporting Trump now. I think that you're starting to see that, like, he does play this character and it's annoying. And, I saw Aurelian saying he surrounds himself, there are bad people around it. He does. He has this character flaw. It's a serious flaw of his that anyone that will talk him up and blow smoke up his ass, he'll be like, yeah. That's not the best thing. But once you start to sort of understand what's going on, he's not this monster that they portray. He's not. And I think that it's becoming, Dave Ramsey came out today, the mayor of the only Muslim dominant city in the United States, came out and supported him. These things would have been impossible in 2016 and 2020. It just would have not been socially acceptable. And it's changing. Doesn't mean he'll win.